Power, money, control. That's what Daniel Knight, a ruthless millionaire CEO, believed gave him the right to dictate every decision, including the fate of the unborn child he never wanted. When his wife Emily told him she was pregnant, he didn't celebrate. He demanded an abortion. To him, a child was nothing but a weakness, a distraction from his empire. But Emily's heart told her otherwise. She chose life. She chose love. And in that moment, she chose freedom. Daniel walked out, never looking back. He thought she'd obey, that she would bend under his dominance. But Emily disappeared, raising her child alone, building a quiet life far away from his shadow. 2 years later, fate staged a cruel twist. In the middle of a crowded mall, Daniel's world stopped because there they were, his ex-wife, and a child with his eyes staring back at him. Abched Homain, Part 1, 1000 words. Likna Sharu. Daniel Knight was the kind of man people feared before they respected. He built his empire from ruthless decisions, late-night deals, and an obsession with control. To the world, he was a self-made success story: sharp suits, luxury cars, and a reputation for crushing competitors. But behind closed doors, the mask slipped. He wasn't just demanding, he was merciless. When Emily found out she was pregnant, she hoped just for a moment that Daniel would soften, that maybe the idea of fatherhood would break through his cold exterior. She imagined him smiling, resting his hand on her stomach, even daring to dream about a family dinner that wasn't dominated by business calls. Instead, his face hardened the moment she whispered the words, "I'm pregnant." Daniel slammed his whiskey glass onto the counter. "No, absolutely not. Get rid of it." Emily's chest tightened. "Daniel, it's our child. How can you even?" He cut her off with a glare sharp enough to slice through her words. "Do you think I built all of this?" He gestured around their penthouse, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city skyline to throw it away on diapers and bedtime stories. "I don't want a child. You'll make an appointment tomorrow." Tears welled in her eyes, but she stood her ground. "I won't. I'm keeping this baby, with or without you." That was the first time Daniel realized Emily's strength was bigger than his bank account. And he hated it. The days that followed were silent wars. Daniel withdrew, throwing himself deeper into his company, while Emily carried life inside her, finding comfort only in the quiet moments when she could feel her baby's heartbeat. When Daniel realized she wouldn't change her mind, he made his choice. One night, he came home late, loosened his tie, and with a voice cold as marble, said, "If you walk out that door with that pregnancy, don't come back. You'll be nothing to me." Emily's hands trembled, but her voice did not. "Then I guess this is goodbye." She left that night with nothing but a suitcase and the strength of a mother's love. For months, Daniel expected her to come crawling back, desperate and broke. He even instructed his lawyers to prepare separation papers, assuming she'd eventually beg for support. But Emily didn't return. She vanished from his glittering world, building a life far away from the skyscrapers and high-stakes deals that defined him. Meanwhile, Daniel continued climbing the corporate ladder, winning contracts, buying companies, and appearing on magazine covers. His life looked flawless, but at night, in the silence of his penthouse, he sometimes wondered about the child he had rejected. He pushed the thought aside with expensive wine and endless work, convincing himself he had made the right choice. 2 years later, fate staged its cruel play. Daniel was in the city mall for a rare personal outing. He hated such places, but a client insisted on meeting there to discuss a new retail venture. Dressed in a tailored suit, phone glued to his ear, he walked through the crowd with his usual air of superiority. Then he froze. On the other side of the food court, laughter echoed, a child's laughter. He turned his head in, his heart stopped. There she was, Emily. Her hair was shorter now, her clothes simpler, but she looked radiant in a way he had never seen before. And next to her was a little boy with curly hair and deep brown eyes that mirrored his own. Daniel's phone slipped from his hand. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The world blurred, and for the first time in his life, he felt powerless. The boy tugged at Emily's hand, pointing at a toy store. Emily smiled, her face glowing with love, and together they walked past him without noticing. Daniel's chest tightened as he realized the truth. He had demanded that this life be erased. Yet here it was, walking right past him, flesh and blood. For the first time in years, Daniel Knight, the man who controlled everything, stood paralyzed, unable to take a single step. Daniel couldn't move. His body felt heavy, as if chained to the marble floor of the mall. For years, he believed walking away had been strength. He told himself Emily would eventually give in, or he'd forget about her. But here she was, glowing with happiness, carrying the very life he had rejected, and for the first time, Daniel Knight felt small. He wanted to run to them, to say something, anything. But his throat closed up as the boy, his son, pointed excitedly at the toy shop, tugging Emily's hand. Daniel watched as she bent down, whispered something to the child, and kissed the top of his head. It was a moment he had stolen from himself. The client he was supposed to meet called out his name from across the lobby. Daniel didn't hear him. His eyes stayed fixed on the child. 2 years of buried emotions came crashing back all at once: rage at himself, shame at his cruelty, and a gnawing ache of regret. That night, Daniel didn't sleep. He sat in his penthouse, staring at the city lights, haunted by the sound of his son's laughter. He poured glass after glass of whiskey, but the numbness wouldn't come. Finally, he whispered into the silence, "He has my eyes," and broke down, tears staining his immaculate suit. Days passed, but the image of them in the mall consumed him. He began asking discreet questions, using his network of investigators. Within weeks, he knew everything: where Emily lived, where she worked, and the daycare she took their son to. Her life was modest but happy. Emily taught art classes at a community center, renting a small apartment where drawings of superheroes and animals decorated the walls. Daniel sat in his car one evening, parked across the street, watching through the window as Emily cooked dinner while the little boy sat at the table coloring. Daniel's chest tightened again. He had everything: wealth, power, influence, but he had none of this. The next day, he finally approached. Emily was leaving the daycare, holding her son's hand when she saw him standing near the gate. Her entire body froze. Memories flooded back: the night he demanded an abortion, the night she walked out. Her grip on her son's hand tightened. "Emily," Daniel's voice cracked, uncharacteristically soft. Her eyes narrowed. "What are you doing here?" I saw you, I saw him." His gaze dropped to the little boy, who peeked curiously from behind his mother's legs. Daniel swallowed hard. "He's beautiful." Emily's heart pounded, but her anger overpowered her fear. "You don't get to say that. You gave up that right the day you told me to kill him." Her words sliced through him, and for once, Daniel didn't fight back. He lowered his head, shame etched into his features. "I know, and I regret it. Every second." The little boy tugged Emily's sleeve. "Mommy, who's that man?" Emily's throat tightened. How could she explain? How could she tell a child that the man before them was his father, a man who once wanted him gone? She simply replied, "Nobody important." "Come on, sweetie." They walked away, leaving Daniel standing alone. That night, Daniel couldn't escape the echo of the boy's question. Who's that man? He realized he wasn't even a ghost in his child's life. He was nothing. And for the first time, Daniel wanted to change. He started small. Anonymous donations appeared at Emily's community center. New supplies, art kits, even renovations. At first, Emily didn't know who was behind it, until she saw him quietly visiting the center one evening, watching her teach with admiration in his eyes. "I'm not here to take him away," Daniel finally said. "I just want to do something good. Even if you never forgive me." Emily didn't reply. Part of her wanted to slam the door on him forever. But another part saw something different in his eyes: not arrogance, not power, but guilt and longing. Weeks turned into months. Daniel began volunteering at the center, not as a CEO but as a man trying to make amends. He swept floors, carried boxes, and sat quietly during the children's art sessions. Slowly, the walls Emily had built began to crack. One afternoon, the little boy approached him, holding a drawing of a stick figure family. "Do you want to see my picture?" he asked shyly. Daniel's hands trembled as he took the paper. His son had drawn a house, a woman, a boy, and beside them, a man with a suit and tie. "That's you?" Daniel asked softly. The boy nodded. "Yeah," Mommy said once. "I look like someone important. Is it you?" Daniel's throat closed. He wanted to say yes. He wanted to scream it. But he looked at Emily, who stood silently in the doorway, her arms crossed, eyes guarded. "For now," Daniel simply said, "it's a very good drawing. You're talented." Emily didn't forgive him overnight. She still remembered every cruel word, every cold look. But she couldn't ignore that he was trying. For their son, she allowed small steps. Meetings in the park, short visits, always supervised. And Daniel, for the first time in his life, wasn't rushing. He wasn't demanding control. He was just present, Years later, when their son asked, "Mommy, can Daddy come to my birthday party?" Emily hesitated. Then, after a long silence, she nodded. Daniel cried that night not from victory, but from grace. He had once tried to erase a life, but that life had become his salvation. Daniel's story is a painful reminder that power and wealth can never replace love, and that one wrong choice can haunt you forever. He demanded an abortion, but years later, a single glance at the child he rejected shattered the empire he thought was enough. Emily's courage shows us that love doesn't need riches, it only needs strength and faith. And their son became living proof that sometimes, the very life we try to erase is the one that saves us. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Comment below, do you believe people like Daniel deserve second chances, or are some mistakes unforgivable? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more powerful stories of regret, redemption, and hope. Together, we can spread messages that inspire change and remind the world of what truly matters.